Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Blizzard Comedy Profiles. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, everyone who's watching in Twitch. If you want to if you want to make yourselves known in the chat and say hi, do feel free to. But if you don't want to, that's absolutely fine as well. I too have social anxiety. I understand not wanting to talk to people. That's fine. And also welcome to anyone who's watching this on the VOD on YouTube or listening to the podcast version as well. Which the statistics tell me that that a larger than zero number of you do. So that's good to know. Hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, evening, afternoon, or night, depending on what time you're listening to this. Hello, Safi Bish Lasagna. That emoji is absolutely terrifying. You're very lucky I know you, otherwise I would have banned you. Hydrate, I will do. I'm going to hydrate with fake lilt because I no longer buy actual lilt since they rebranded it to Fanta, whatever the fuck it is. Because this is the hill I'm going to die on. You know what? I always wondered why like older millennials always like bitched about Snickers because I've always known it as Snickers. But now that lilt is rebranded, I kind of understand it. Fair enough. Thanks for joining us, Safi. Hope you're doing well. So, today we are joined by the absolutely magnificent, multi-talented performer that is Ben Hodge, comedian, improviser, filmmaker, and raging homosexual. Absolutely one of the favourite people to work with and indeed watch in recent years. If you're new here, you may not have seen him before. It's been a little while since he's done our show, but he is coming to do a preview with us in a couple of months. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, as well as some of his experiences, particularly in the post-lockdown years with the stand-up circuit, which should be a lot of fun. But if you are new here, or if you've not seen Ben before, we've got a short clip for you, just to give you a bit of context so you know how brilliant he is, and then we can get on with the chat. If you have any questions you want me to ask Ben, do feel free to pop them in the chat at any point, and we'll try and get to them before the end of the stream. And yeah, otherwise, enjoy. I was going to slickly move that to OBS, but I didn't have it open properly. Where are we? Here we are. Okay, enjoy Ben Hodge.
As well as being like a massive homosexual, I felt like it was only suitable that I went and worked at Ann Summers. It was buzzing. Thank you. Now you think working at Ann Summers is quite fun, but actually selling dildos to bored housewives and lube to the dry and menopausal is not as fun as it sounds. Firstly, I can't read Beatrix Potter anymore, okay? I've seen where Peter Rabbit's been. And you get a lot of strange interactions that, like, in normal retail, it would be fine, it would be totally fine, but in Ann Summers, it's totally not okay. Like, people who'd come in and go, is it try before you buy? And you'd want to go, is it try before you buy? Have we had that one before? No. Is it try before you buy? No. No, why would it be try before? Step away from the butt plug, please. Or people would say, have you used many of these toys before? And go, have I used many of these toys? Isn't it? Funny one, isn't it? Have I used many of these? Yes. What do you think of staff discounts for? I'm not working, I'm compiling a shopping list. Sorry, Mum. And the best question that people would ask is, like, usually straight couples would come in and I'd show the female partner a really great new exciting vibrator that would, like, spice up their life. And the male partner would go, is that going to replace me? And you'd have to say, of course not, there's nothing like the real thing. What you'd really want to say is, hopefully, she had any mind about her, she'd realise this doesn't have a gob on it that thinks it's funny. And men don't vibrate. So,
So that was Ben Hodge, and here we are joined by Ben Hodge himself, who is currently on mute. He's no longer on mute. Good. Okay, that would have been really awkward. Welcome to the show, Ben. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm in Brighton at the minute, doing
fun.
the Brighton Fringe.
Nice. How is that going?
Do you know what? I've been living such a good life, honestly. Like, I don't know. It's so different down here. Like, every day I've been staying with a dear friend who you'll also know, Wilkie.
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been staying with Wilkie, and honestly, all I've been doing is like walking his dog, going for brunch, and doing my show. And like,
oh, lovely.
You know, what's been incredible is he lives near a dog park, and you know, I only got here. It's been like a week. I've been here, like 5 days. I already know all the dogs. I can tell you their temperament. I can tell you who Wilkie's dog doesn't live with and who does. And, like, you know, I walked through the park to go see Helen Bauer's show, and I was, Wilkie wasn't with me, and neither was Brenda, his dog. And I was looking, I went, oh, there's Olive, and oh, little Freddie.
Oh,
I was
lovely.
like, I am. Do you know what I mean? Like before we went to a pub and someone was like, oh, your dog's lovely. And I was like, she's not too friendly with everyone. And I went, who do I think I am? Like, she's not my dog.
Not even your dog, just fucking brilliant. Oh, that sounds amazing. That's I imagine getting that in Edinburgh. You wouldn't. This is why Brighton's the new one. That's cool. How long are you down there for? I've never done Brighton Fringe before. I'm not sure how long it runs for. Are you doing shows every day or just like a few?
So it runs for the whole month. So I saw on a sign before. I think it was 5th of May to the 4th of June.
Sure.
I mean, I can talk in a bit about how lucky I've been, but I arrived on Monday, did a show Monday night. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I had shows, and then I've got a break, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I'm doing comedy sports, which is the kids not kids, family friendly, I should say, family friendly improv troupe I'm part of. And then on Monday I've got one more show, and then I come back on Tuesday.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds like it's been amazing. Also, I realized I forgot to put Ben's links in the chat, so if you want to go follow Ben on Twitter and Instagram, you can do that as well. Cool. We'll dive into how the show's been going in a little bit. Thank you very much for joining us. I feel like I don't know. I can't remember when I last saw you. Would it have been Sparkle the last time I seen you? That was ages ago. I don't know if I've actually seen you since then.
No, we saw each other. So because obviously, we saw each other at that University of Salford.
Yes, we did. But yeah, the last time like actually performing was then I think. Oh, that's really cool. So I've got a list of questions up. Let me get them up now. So yeah, okay. Let's actually start off with the show, and then I've got a few other kind of tangential questions that we might get to as well. So first of all, give us like your overview of the show. Tell us about it. What the general kind of premise of it is, and yeah, we'll dive a bit deeper into that to promote it, because you can actually see it at Blizzard Comedy in just a few short weeks. We'll get onto that in a little bit. So yeah, just tell us what the show's about first.
Absolutely. So it's a boy. So I say it like that 'cause it's got a question mark at the end of boy. So it's a show. It's a show about me. Which is the easiest thing for me to write about. But it. It's a show all about. The tagline is a trans boy discovering trans joy, and it's a show about. But to be honest with you, it's a show about my life. It's a show about sort of growing up and my experience of gender at different points. So like there's a big focus on school because when you're
that's yeah.
That's that's your life for however many years. So there's a lot of focus on my experiences at school because I think that's where a lot of sort of events involving my gender kind of came in, kind of happened anyway. So I kind of go through a lot of that, and it's where I think I kind of mark my gender identity and a lot of my the majority of my recollections of kind of gendered things that has happened through my life that whether that's incidences that someone should have noticed that, I wasn't quite cis, or whether that's like
if by someone you also include yourself in that.
Obviously.
Yeah, I can hard relate to that.
Absolutely. I have a joke about it actually, which I don't want to ruin.
I was going to say yeah. Let's avoid any like massive spoilers to make sure people can come along to see the show.
But the tagline is like my discovery of my transgender identity through Yorkie bars, secondhand Catholic guild, and the
Amazing. The three genders in their own right, I think.
Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful stuff! Yeah. That sounds amazing. So, how long have you been working on the show? Is this the first big festival you've done it at, or have you done it at a few others as well?
Well, so I've been working on it since I want to say it was last year, sort of after the Fringe last year, and I went up with comedy sports, and people were like, "You should do your show, you should do yours," and I was like, "Well, I don't know if I should bring a show actually." Anyway, I spoke to a couple of people, like a good friend of mine and friend of the show, Tom Short.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we love Tom Short. He's fucking wonderful.
Oh, I absolutely adore that man, and a brilliant friend as well called John Cooper, who
Oh yeah.
fantastic improviser, fantastic illustrator, and so I spoke to both of them, and they were the ones who kind of really sort of spoke to it and encouraged it, because they said, listen, especially in kind of today's climate, with the way it is for trans people, if your show is so your comedy is so relevant that it would almost be a miss not to do it. So I went away and I thought about it, and I started, because I've been doing comedy sort of 4 years, and I'm still. So in comedy years, I'm still a baby, really, but I've accumulated.
Especially given like half of that would have been during lockdown as well. So that's
Right, and I was lucky that I did do. I know a lot of people don't count lockdown, but I did quite a few online gigs. I was, doing comedy sports shows like 3 times a week. So in some way, shape, or form, I was still doing a lot of comedy in lockdown. So, I'm quite fortunate that I had that, and I still count that. But even with that, like so I thought, okay, right, I'm gonna have to have a look at the show. So what was interesting is about sort of the year before that, so whatever it was, 2022, I was an associate artist at the University of Salford. And my thought there was I was writing a multimedia theatre show about being trans and going through fertility treatment.
okay, yeah.
But what was interesting is kind of halfway through this kind of development stage of the show, I decided not to get fertility treatment.
Oh, okay.
It just wasn't right for me at the time, and still isn't, and I wasn't sure where I stood on having kids and whatever.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I was just like, so I had some material from that show, and I was like, I wonder what translates. So I went through that show, and there was, to be honest, there wasn't too much, but there were things that definitely inspired material, and then, there was anyway, all of that. So so with that, I started writing the show, and then in March, I did my first preview at Fierce Bar, and I think the first iteration of anyone's show they're not totally happy with. And
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's what I'm telling myself when I'm doing my first one, a few weeks after you. I'm just gonna be, it just doesn't matter if it's shit. Everyone's gonna hate the first one.
Exactly. I felt like for me it was shit because the chronology and the order, and I was like between things. Then my timeline, like I think for transition, and when you talk about gender transition, I think timeline's very important because things. So I totally just didn't grasp that. Anyway, so I did that, and I got some feedback from, again, very good friend, Kiri Pritchard-McLean.
Yeah.
She gave me some amazing feedback and some amazing ideas. Anyway, I went away with it, and the show is kind of in its iteration that it is now. So it's still, it's 45 minutes. It's still very much a work in progress, and will be for probably another year. But I went to Glasgow Comedy Festival in sort of March, I think it was.
Yeah, February, March, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I really struggled up there. So much so I came home early.
Oh, no.
And I was like, this isn't a fringe, and it's not a fringe, so I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I was very much sort of, I don't know, I kind of felt a bit on my own with it.
Yeah.
And I kind of struggle with that. Like, my partner Joe was away for a week last week, and I was like, I thought, if I do this again, I'm going staying at my parents because I'm not fucking doing it. Like,
yeah, no.
So I'm a very much a people person. I was staying in a hostel, and I think they can almost be more isolating than hotels at times.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're not in that sort of space where people. I stayed at a hospital in San Francisco, fucking loved it. No, sorry, Seattle.
Yeah.
And then stay at one in Glasgow. No one's chatting. There's no sort of social aspect, whatever else. But anyway, so I came home early. I told them it was a family emergency, but for my own mental health, I just couldn't do it. So anyway, but the shows I did do there, I had an audience of 3 and an audience of 6, which for me, I have no contacts in Glasgow.
So yeah, that's pretty good start, to be honest.
So yeah, I was quite, although for some people they'll perceive them as small, for me that was big for someone with no name.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, for sure.
So I came home. I did what I called it the Northern Quarter tour because I just did loads of venues in the Northern Quarter. So I did the Pier Hat.
Yeah, yeah.
I did Feel Good Club. I was very lucky to have a show there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's my favorite show so far. It was I basically sold out. It was full, and people were just so on board, and it was it was so lovely of Feel Good Club to host me, and I just felt incredible. And then at Castle Hotel, where we're both Blizzard and myself had to go because of some stuff that's happening with Gulliver's. So
yeah.
But again, that one, the Feel Good Club one, I don't think I totally sold out, but there were people who stayed around and whatever else. Anyway,
that's really good.
That day, I realised I've sold out. I went, what the fuck? And
that's
I just
fucking surreal, yeah.
Yeah, and sold out with people I don't know.
I think, especially when you're doing like just your own show, like when it's part of like a mixed lineup, you can always be like, oh, other people that people are coming to see, like either they're an audience of the show, they saw what was going on. But when it's like your show specifically, I think that must be like a much more weird moment because they've come to see you talking about some quite personal stuff.
Yeah,
and like,
it's strange. So I've had, to be honest, I think I've been quite fortunate that I've had, I mean, some of the previews, don't get me wrong, some of them were a bit quiet, and some of them, I've had shows that have been like quieter. So but having said that, I've had audiences. I've had, I haven't really had to cancel one.
That's amazing.
So I've been fairly lucky as to where I am now, but I also appreciate that that's because I'm always working, I'm always trying to get stuff done. I put money into like my marketing and stuff like that, and I don't have an agent yet. I don't have PR. I don't.
So you're kind of doing everything independently right now.
It's all me. So
yeah.
like people are like, oh, I literally had people say to me like, oh, who's doing it? It's like, it's all me, babes. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lie, to be fair, because my the poster designs that were about town were Canva.
Yeah.
But I'll show you because my wonderful friend Maisie Whip, who. She doesn't do stand up as much anymore, but she's a wonderful creative comic and very funny. Made me this poster design.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I'm gonna
got a Blizzard comedy quote on that as well. I just noticed.
Oh yes. I totally forgot to mention.
That's amazing. I love how that font stylized. That really pops. That's incredible.
It's incredible, and I'm going to show you the back of it, but I'm going to cover something that I reveal in the show.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Avoid any spoilers.
But this is like the back, and I just the fact that I, that's all me. And
yeah.
It's like strange, but so I've been very fortunate that Maisie, bless her heart, I've messaged her being like, can you do this flyer for Brighton? And she's like, yep, absolutely. And I'm like, can you just, I know it's a nightmare, but can you slot this logo in? And she's just gone, yep, absolutely. So so like I say, I've had some great support from people, great support from my
that's
partner
really cool.
Joe. Yeah, Joe's been sat at the back of many of my previews recording.
Oh, bless him.
I've had friends like Tom again giving me advice and helping me sort of, and I've got a comedy mentor at the minute through a charity I volunteer for. They have a mentoring street.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Jen Ives is my mentor.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
So she's been great to speak to about everything, and kind of talk, and she's been very supportive. Same with Kiri, same with Helen's power. She's really up for Anyway, so I've had positivity. No turfs yet.
That's good. Or at least none have made themselves known. So that's a start.
I've had some comments on my Facebook ads, but I just deleted them because I thought.
I've seen, especially because are you paying for Facebook ads boosting? I've seen a few people that I saw. I've forgotten the name, but there was a disabled comic who'd paid for sponsored posts, and the comments on that were fucking atrocious. And to be fair, the person who posted it was incredibly patient with them, and far more than I think they deserved. But yeah, really kind of I don't know if necessarily won them over, but like refused to let what they were saying get to them. All like the usual things about all this woke comedy, you know, and it's just kind of like I'm just a disabled comedian talking about being disabled. Like that's not, and then that's not like who I am. Isn't woke, whatever that means. That's just who I am. Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, I'm aware, you know, other than a Twitter run-in I had a while ago, but you know, that's to be honest, that's a totally different story. But like, you know, in terms of the show, I had one person comment stuff, and I thought like, and this is when I was advertising in Glasgow, and I mean, I don't know Glasgow as a city, I don't know how safe it is, but like, people, but you know, I just thought like, it was, you know, I just deleted it because I thought, I looked on his Facebook and I just went, to me, you're nobody.
Yeah, it's like if this person gave you comments or like advice on any other topic, you wouldn't care. Like they're not anyone. But when it's like when it's a comment about who like your own kind of sense of identity that you've been like working out for like most, if not all, of your life, that's just it's hard to not let that get to you. So yeah, fair play for. Even just like deleting it is like a huge step. So yeah, good on you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think you know, if it was me, because don't get me wrong, I have had sort of comments and stuff said where, or like moments where I've gone, oh God, like, because it is, you know, the show is me. It's you know, it's 99.9% total truth.
Yeah.
And like you know, there have been moments where I've gone, oh, it's an attack on me, but they don't fucking know me. They don't, you know, they don't know my.
They're very much projecting an idea, a stereotype onto you because you're making yourself so visible. Not to make that sound victim blamey. I wasn't. I just meant like from their point of view, that's why they've latched onto you specifically rather than.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel that is victim blaming, because I think you're quite right that, you know, if you are a person from a marginalised or underprivileged or however you want to describe it, of people, and you like, you know, like myself, I do talk very openly about being trans, and I do talk very openly about my past and, you know, my life and things like that. I think if you are going to do that, the unfortunate reality of this is that you are going to get that back, because, and I think that's true of everyone, you know, even sort of people who talk about a topic as widely understood and discussed as mental health, like, you know, you still get a backlash. And it's like, so I totally appreciate that, you know, I am going to have that. And as much as I shouldn't, I am. And, you know, I've kind of come to the realization recently where I'm like, you know, if anyone does think anything negatively, I'm fucking engaged. I'm living my best life.
Exactly.
Beautiful pet rats. Like, I'm in Brighton at the minute, living it up by the sea. Like, I'm traveling all over the place. I'm going to Edinburgh for a whole month. And, you know, at the minute, I am living the life I have aimed for forever, and you know, there is no internet troll or dickhead that is going to take that away from me.
That's
at the end of
wonderful to hear.
They're not paying my rent. And that's not to say I don't have my moments of like, why does everyone hate me?
No, I'd be surprised if you didn't.
But you know, when you process it and you think about it, you think, oh, just fuck off, will you?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely incredible, and also, congratulations on all that's incredible. We absolutely love to hear you living your best life. That's absolutely wonderful. I made a few notes there of like points you kind of made that I wanted to circle back to, so we might repeat ourselves a little bit here. So just apologise in advance for that. But I'm really interested in. Because you've been referencing this a lot about how this is obviously a very personal show, and like when you're kind of umming and ahhing about whether you wanted to do do Edinburgh, and about how important it is as an openly trans person in the arts to be presenting themselves this way. How does it feel to kind of as a comedian, and there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just really interested in your take on this. Whether like how does it feel to know that like you as a comedian kind of have to talk about this stuff as who you are. Like how does that feel? Like, do you think that's kind of limiting scope wise on what you can talk about as a comedian? Or do you think how do you feel about that, if that makes any sense as a question?
It totally makes sense. I think for me, being trans for the last sort of 4.5 years I've been doing comedy, it's been my main point of conversation. And I think, for me, I get for a lot of people, or for some people even, that being trans is not something they want to talk about. They want to transition and go stealth, and that's it. And again, that's I'm not discrediting that. That is a totally valid and very important thing for people to feel. And if they feel that that's where they want to be in their transition, then I absolutely empower and champion that. For me, I felt very different. I felt that, I discovered this thing about myself and I just wanted to talk about it. Like, especially, I've always been like that, where when I first discovered I was trans, maybe not so much when I first discovered because I was 14 and,
Yeah.
I was sort of limited. But when I publicly came out and began to socially transition at 16, I did want to talk about it because I felt very much that this was going to be a huge part of my life, and I knew that it was going to be a huge thing. And I felt like if I didn't talk about it and didn't invite people into that, they're going to notice changes and be like, what's going on? And again, if people don't want to talk about it, totally valid. That's just how I felt. And I think you're right. I think that when you are, like I said before, when you are part of I'll refer to it as a marginalized group.
Yeah.
But, that includes anyone who feels that they're part of the disadvantage, privilege, or whatever way you want to describe it. So when you're part of a marginalized group, it's hard to not address it. And I think that's true. You see people get up on stage, and they might be a disabled person or a person of color, or someone with maybe an immigrant or anything like that, and it's like you can see the audience kind of go, why aren't they talking about it?
Yeah.
Why aren't they
breaking the ice?
It's the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
And exactly that, it's breaking the ice as well. And I think for me, comedy, when I first started it, I wanted it to be kind of a celebration of myself, and it was finally a space that I could really honestly talk about being trans and really, really kind of take people through the motions with me. And also, I've always been sort of a performer, and I think, for me, I've always been a very open and honest person. I hope I have. I've always been very open about how I identify and how, and what that means for me. And, that continues into my art. And for me, if I wasn't trans, there's so much opportunity I wouldn't have. And there's so much in my life that I just wouldn't have if I wasn't trans. And, it hasn't come with its, it hasn't. It definitely has come with its hardships and its battles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it definitely has. And and it still does. However, I have a beautiful community, a beautiful trans community. I love the community so much. I have a beautiful partner who's totally supportive and understanding, and I wouldn't have met him if I was, well, maybe I would have met him if I was cisgender, but my comedy wouldn't have been about transness. Or would I have been in the same places? I've kind of been fortunate enough to have experiences and knowledge and this maturity. Like, I say this a lot, I forget I'm 23. So to kind of bring that back around to what you were saying, I do feel like I have to address it because it's something that I haven't addressed for so long.
Yeah.
But I also sometimes find it difficult because it consumes so much of me, and it is so much of me, and it is who I am. I do sometimes find it a little bit hard to write about other things because I'm like...
I can relate to that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't just want to do like, when you go to Tesco and you cook. Like,
yeah.
That's almost too relatable. And I almost like that side of it where I almost like to be an honest person with audiences. And I've been thinking about other things that I'd write and like... I know I'm only just doing It's a Boy, and that's going to be my focus for like the next sort of 2 years. But, I have been thinking about kind of what other shows could shape like, and, things like, you know, I am, like I say, I am 23. I'm still fairly young, and as much as I don't want to kind of, you know, rely on my youth, I think that my generation is probably like that kind of Gen Z, and I've just accepted I'm a Gen Z. You know, I've just had to come
Yeah.
to accept.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It'll
and
it it'll get more embarrassing the older you get. For now, it's still kind of like cool, but yeah, the older you get, once Gen Alpha or whatever the new one's called becomes the main kind of cultural touchstone. Yeah.
absolutely. So you know, I want to write stuff about being a young person. Like you know, I had an idea. You know, I was saying before to a couple of people, I was very heavily involved in the Scouts, and I think that would make a very interesting show.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So I did so much shit in the Scouts; it was so mental. And you know, stuff like what was the other thought I had? What was it? I even thought of a title, and I bloody love that title. Broken. I think like how, and that was my generational one about how, you know, my generation are almost seen as the, you know, we almost feel a bit broken
Yeah.
in this world to others, and you know, again, like the Scouts one, I think that'd be funny, and you know, so there's all right, so there's all these like different ideas that I have for other things. So it's not as if I'm limiting myself. It's just that at the minute, my transness is my focus, and my transness is what
you want to talk about.
And it's one of the things that I love most about myself, because, like I said, it's given me so much opportunity. It's given me a beautiful designer chest.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You know, it's given me the beautiful and, you know, the beautiful life I have. So yeah, I think. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's a really lovely insight, lovely way of looking at it. I guess it's kind of from like divorcing it from all the genuinely horrific stuff that we have to go through. Like from a purely like artistic point of view, it's quite an interesting trade-off in that you get like quite a unique selling point with your comedy, and you have quite a unique voice. But at the same time, you kind of there is some kind of pressure, both like socially and internally, that you kind of have to talk about that, and like you have to. I don't know if I may be putting words into your mouth, but I certainly feel this occasionally that if my comedy doesn't solve transphobia forever, I failed. And I think when you're doing a show about it, I know that's ridiculous, but that's kind of like getting my head about it.
No, I get it. Do you know what's interesting? I was having this discussion with a friend who came to see my show, and we were talking about comedy and performance as an escape for people. And I said to them, listen, just because they can escape their reality doesn't mean that they can escape mine. Because if we think about when we go into a theatre, so especially like, I'm quite lucky that I pass, and in a lot of spaces I'm not, you know, to use the word clocked, I'm quite lucky that happens. However, you know, there are still, you know, if you go and sit in a theatre where you're supposed to be escaping reality, you sit in a seat, you've got someone next to you, you're wondering if they're staring at you in a certain way, you've got like, people behind you, and you're wondering if they're
hypervigilance.
Exactly, and like, you know, if you're going out onto the street, you have to like look around and think, or like if you're you know, for example, if I'm buying a drink and they ID me, my ID is like, oh, it's old as shit. Like I think I'm pre-testosterone on it, and
oh yeah, that's.
And it's like, are they going to believe it's me? And you know, so and even within a theatre, when you're watching a show, you know, I could be thinking about, you know, oh God, it's going to be a bit late to do my tea prescription or whatever, and you know, and that, you know, that isn't an isolated experience. In that tea prescription example, it's true, you know, can be true for people who just take medicine in general. But
yeah,
you know, I don't know if we can escape transness in the same way other people can escape their own existence and performance.
No, you can't, and that's what I can't remember who specifically said it, but like I've heard this point from a few people that it's kind of like, because this is who you are, like no matter what subject you are talking about, you're kind of still talking about being trans because it's your perspective on these things, and that is who you are, that is who you exist as. So it's very hard to write stuff, even just like kind of middle of the road observational stuff. You are observing it from the point of view of who you are. I think particularly when you are in a minority or like marginalized group, that is that really does stand out, because there's this kind of subtext in the performance that like your voice is a distinct one from the majority norm. I've forgotten what point I was getting to with this, Fred, but that's what I was saying.
It's all right. I've just realised as well. So the audience know. I was ordering a curry with Wilkie. I said I'd check my phone anyway. I totally missed, but they've ordered me a Sri Lankan squash and aubergine curry, so I have that to look forward to.
Oh, exciting! Oh, lovely.
So yeah, I'm just gonna let him know that sounds like an excellent choice, and I'm glad he's made it for me. So there we go.
Oh, beautiful, incredible. Okay, something also, I realised, apologies for anyone in the chat, we did launch right into the heavy stuff. I do apologise. I've got something a little bit more nerdy and technical now, which will, I mean, knowing us, we'll probably still circle it back to depressing stuff anyway. But yeah, see, you were mentioning, I've forgotten the exact context of what it was you said, but you kind of talked about when you were doing the first previews of this show, the kind of like the kind of structure and timeline of it and all. And I wonder, because obviously you've done quite a bit of filmmaking as well in your time. So I wonder how different kind of structuring and narrative for a comedy show is to any other projects you might have done, like whether it's a documentary or whatever. Because I think when you're doing personal shows, that this is the problem. This is a wall I'm kind of struggling with at the minute. Is like you want to do everything chronologically, but that's not always narratively the most interesting or best way to structure a show. So I'm wondering how you've kind of grappled with that. Has the show changed structure like as you've been working on it? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So
that was like 5 questions in one. I'm sorry.
No, apologise. No, I like it. Filmmaking wise, I'm a documentary maker. That's kind of how I describe myself.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough that, you know, I can say I'm a professional one because I have been paid for it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the documentaries I've made have been so different, because especially the first one I got commissioned to make was more conversational. And there wasn't really a necessity to explore timeline because it was intergenerational as well. You couldn't really explore timeline because in one breath, you know, in the same breath, we had someone who could talk about the 80s, but then someone who's talking about growing up in the 2010s. So I felt it. I haven't really. I don't know if I've made the connection, but maybe I'll think about it and tweet it. But in terms of the chronology, definitely at first I was kind of flitting between stuff and, you know, flitting between stories and whatever else. And I think when I watched it back, I was like, it feels like I'm going from here to here to here to here, back to here, and I was like, I need it to go on a straight line with a little like ooh, and then like a little. So, you know, there's a bit where I talk about. I'd have to have a look at my show notes actually. I think because the thing is with me, I have an awful short-term memory, so I think I still have my notebook next to me. 45 minutes is a lot, to be honest with you. Anyway,
yeah, there it is.
So I talk a bit about kind of so after I've kind of talked about discovering I'm trans and how that happened, I talk about representation, and I think that makes sense because, you know, that discovery of being trans wasn't because of representation. In fact, I talk about discovering I'm trans and how, you know, it's taken so long because of a lack of representation. And I think even though the representation I talked about happened in, like, it was probably more prominent in primary school than it was in high school, I guess the chronology has changed. And then, you know, I do kind of talk a little bit about where I am now, and, you know, that's interesting, and, you know, kind of the climate we live in now. And, you know, I do kind of go through it in the beats because that's very much how I section my life as well. So it has changed to sort of make sense a bit more. And, you know, there are things which are fairly isolated in their chronology. There are things which kind of weave in its chronology. So I don't know. I guess it has kind of chopped and changed a little. but it definitely, the show as it is at the minute has made the most sense to me.
Sure.
And it's the one I've been sticking with, and I really sort of like the order. And there's jokes in there that I always say each show, like, "Oh, I'll cut it out because audience hate it," but I fucking love it. It's great.
You need to leave someone with you, yeah.
Yeah, I say to I said it to an audience the other night. I went, the joke got like, it's a bit of a groaner, and it got a bit of someone going, "Oh," and I went. For a second, I nearly said to them, "I don't need your validation," and it's like, I'm a stand-up comedian. Of course, I need your.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
I said that to them. I said I was nearly going to say I don't need your validation, but obviously I do. That's why I'm a comedian, and that's what our job is.
Yeah. Just professional validation seekers. Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely. So I think it's still a work in progress because I think there's a lot that can still be developed with it, sure. But at the minute, I'm happy with it, and I'm not necessarily discovering as much new stuff right now with it because I'm quite satisfied with where it is. However, that's what I'm looking forward to in Edinburgh, is that development and allowing it to continue. But anyway, so I'm excited.
That's really cool. Are you doing the full month in Edinburgh?
Yeah, and this didn't schedule himself a day off.
Oh no, that's gonna be intense. Best of luck for that. Fab.
Like
Okay, cool.
I should be more worried, but I'm just like,
yeah, no, get it. Yeah, I've not even started putting any of my thoughts down on paper yet. I mean, I'm just doing the one show as well, so that's so if I was doing a whole month, I would probably have I would have given up by now. So absolutely kudos for sticking with it. I'm sure it'll go great. I'm very excited to see it in person. We do not have the ticket link yet, but that will be on the 3rd of July, along with Tom Short, who we were talking about earlier as well. Both of them doing our preview. So as soon as tickets are available for that, we'll be putting that on our socials. So do book if you are in Manchester and want to come and have a look at that, because that'll be very exciting. I'd say we've probably got about another 15 minutes left. So there's a few little points, some of them to do with this show, some of them more general. This one's kind of both, and it might stray into spoiler territory. So if you want to veto an answer on it, that's fine. But do you have a particular message or point you want to convey with your work, whether that is the show itself or just more generally?
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a spoiler.
Sure.
I think it's just the general message of my work anyway, and that includes my filmmaking and my sort of acting, performance, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But the message is basically that we exist, and we always have, and we always will, and no one can stop that, and we exist in our kind of purest form, and trans people aren't going anywhere. We have our own lived experiences, as with anyone. We have a struggle as a community. We have individual struggles. But at the end of the day, I wake up, I go to the toilet, I go and have breakfast, and then I shit and go to bed. So I'm still a very I'm still a person. I'm
just
still
like
human.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that as much as my sort of life story, I hate calling it journey.
Oh, that's such a cliche, isn't it? Especially for trans people, it's always a journey, and I see where it's coming from, but it does feel kind of icky.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about that word. But anyway,
yeah.
I'm aware that my life story has very many differences, but whose doesn't? Do you know what I mean? We've all got our own sort of individual identity in terms of whether that is an intersected identity or whether that is just a lived experience that you have that might not be usual, and everyone has that. Everyone has that. And so the message is mainly just that we exist, and because I think it's easy. No, it's not easy to forget we exist because of the way the media is, but it's easy to forget.
I don't know. I mean, trans men, I think it kind of is, because the focus on trans people is so fixated on women. So it kind of, I think there's a dichotomy between we face a lot of the same oppressors and a lot of the same backlash, but I think the way it's targeted is you get very different experiences from both, and for someone like you as well, specifically a gay trans man, like the amount of erasure you get, because a lot of specifically the more kind of like turfy transphobes very much sort of have this narrative that trans men are just lesbians who have like internalized homophobia and don't realize that they can just be lesbians. But you are a trans man who is attracted to men, so that just completely undermines that entire point, and they just kind of pretend you don't exist.
Yeah.
So absolutely loudly and proudly existing and showcasing and promoting the fact that you exist is fucking incredible. Absolutely, that's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, it's a mad world, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fucking is.
But yeah, just the message is we exist, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, good. Absolutely, you absolutely shouldn't. Cool. We've touched on lockdown a bit as well. I wanted to ask. So you've probably got quite an interesting. I nearly said journey then. Sorry, but you've probably had like an interesting development because you started. You said you've been doing stand up for about 4 years, so you would have only doing it for like a year or so before lockdown hit. If my maths is correct, it might not be. So I just want and you I really liked what you were saying about how like lockdown wasn't really a break, it was just a like exploring different ways of doing stand-up, which I really like, because that's how I've tried to look at it in both at the time and in retrospect. Do you think that that's shaped how you approach stand-up in any way since it's been going on, or do you think you're a much different comedian now than you would have been had lockdown not happened?
Oh, I don't know. Let me think a second. I guess lockdown, the first. Well, I mean, which lockdown are we talking about?
Yeah, just all of them into one.
I mean, the first lockdown, I really did try to do online gigs, and I did basically almost as many as I could, and but then it kind of got to a point where they were great. I did, online gigs were great to an extent, and then it got to a point where it was like, oh, really, again. Yeah. And then I was very fortunate that I was able to say, look, I'm not doing another online gig unless it's paid. Yeah. And that was a very fortunate position I could be in. Good. Because I didn't need to do them for the stage time. But anyway, with that aside, I don't know. I think, there was, before lockdown, I was gigging 5 times a week. I was, doing all of this. I don't know how different it would have been, really, and I don't think it would have been much different. I think I would have been maybe doing this at the same time with the same thing. Maybe I would have had a bit more to write about, sure, but other than that, I guess it hasn't really had much an effect. What it has had an effect on is me as an individual, because my COVID was really difficult. Sure. So, I mean, I've had it twice, but for me, I was fine. Like, this isn't the it's not. Sorry, I was fine.
This isn't your 4th show.
But what might be my 4th show is my mum. On my birthday in 2021, went into hospital. And she was and nearly died from COVID. And for 6 months, she was in hospital, moved to like a rehab facility, and she's now she's okay. Like, I mean, obviously I say she's okay, I mean in the sense of she's living back at home. She's she has early retirement, and she is legally and medically classed as disabled, which she has never been before in her life. And I think kind of having that happen in my 3rd year of uni, whilst I was working like 7 different jobs. Yeah. How much more do I need? But it is, and I think that it just made me more of a person who didn't give a shit. Like, and it just gave me someone who, it just kind of made me a bit more like, do you know what? I've got enough on my plate.
Yeah.
Like, do I actually care what you have to say to me? I don't think so.
It does put things in perspective, yeah.
100%. And like, I think there was a period of like a month or 2 where I was kind of, I suppose you'd say, the main carer for my mum, but
yeah.
That was, I didn't do as much stand up, and I lived back at home, which is between Liverpool and Manchester, and it was a little bit harder to get places. So so with that in mind, I feel like what it's just affected is me just going, I just don't care. Just not. It's like, you can think what you want to think. If you like me, you like me. If you don't,
yeah. just take things as they come. Being like, okay, how does this impact me? It doesn't. I'll just
I'm not going to lose any sleep over yet. So.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I think that's quite a healthy outlook to have. In general, that's really cool to know. See what other questions I've got written down here that I haven't already covered. I think we've already answered a lot of these without me having to actually ask them. So I think there's okay, yeah. I think we'll wind up unless anyone in the chat has any more questions. We've not had any come through so far, but if you do, so the one to finish on. So when we had our chat in 2020, I think I asked you what either what the best advice you'd received for comedy was, or what advice would you give to a younger you, like sort of pre-doing stand-up. So I want to kind of continue that and being like, what would you say to 2020 Ben now about kind of what to do with stand-up moving forward, and do you think 2020 Ben would be proud of where you are now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it would be.
Yeah.
2020 Ben was stuck in a room playing Animal Crossing. But
still living your best life, just in a different way.
yeah, I think my original advice, because I did actually look at that interview not too long ago, and I think my original advice was just like, get out there and gig. My advice now, I think it depends where you're at with it. I think if you want to try stand up, just give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. The worst thing is no one laughs, and really, in the grand scheme of things, does that matter? I don't think so.
No, it really doesn't. If they don't, no one will really remember. In like if you
exactly, like I barely remember half the gigs I've been to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, and like it's awful. Like you meet that many people doing this, you go like, oh god, I can't.
Oh, the amount of people I've just shrugged off who've recognised me, and I've been like, oh, have we met? And they've just got really bad about it.
Yeah, it's heavy, isn't it? But
yeah.
What I would say is also know who you are. I think that sometimes, maybe I think comedy's not so much that way, but I've seen people who, you know, they want to put out a fabricated version of themselves, and you know, I think sometimes, well, that's not the right way to put it. Not fabricated version, but they want to be something else, and they want to be someone else. And I think that you know, and I'm not obviously not talking about character comedy.
No, that's a different thing.
That's totally different. But I think just know yourself. I think that. And that doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out.
No, I don't think anyone ever does. I think life's just a prolonged identity crisis. Like you have your big moments, but I think like you're always kind of figuring out who you are, really.
Absolutely, but in that moment that you're on stage, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, are you presenting yourself in the way that you see yourself, or the way you want people to see you? And I think, you know, don't present yourself in the way people want to see you, because if I did that, I'd either be really, really camp, or I'd be really, really stealth and trying to act straight, which we know never works for me. So, you know, I'm offended if people think I'm straight. Like, people will go like, I actually have people go like, so you know, your girlfriend must love that, and I go,
I can't imagine them. Yeah.
I've put so much hard work into this, and like you've just thrown it all. Anyway,
I can't imagine anyone thinking you're straight, especially after hearing you talk. Like, there's just.
This is it. Joe, my fella, said to me, like, he was like, "You can tell by your voice you're gay," and I'm like, "Excuse me." Like, I was like, "Sorry, what?" And he was like, "I don't know. You just have that voice." And I was like, "Oh, so even the testosterone went, not too much, lads. Come on." But anyway, yeah. So the advice I'd say is just know who you are. Like, you know, we talk about persona in stand up, I think. And,
yeah, we do.
You know, I am still very young in my years of stand up, so don't take this with a pinch of salt always. But
yeah.
Your persona can be as much or as little of you as you can. However, it needs to have that glimmer of you, because
be rooted in who you are.
At the end of the day, you are the person on stage. It's you, like, and you know, just be the person you are in that moment. Is that good advice?
That's really good. That is incredibly profound. I feel like if I was going to make a trailer for this show, that is what I'd use. But then again, that might also ruin the ending. But yeah, absolutely profound. Really,
Please be sad.
that was really wonderful. Safi, Mr. Sunny has redeemed hydrate. I've actually finished my drink, but I'll get the little bit of backwash at the bottom there.
Sometimes it's the best part, though.
Yes, my own saliva. Right. On that note, right, probably not going to raid anyone because there's not loads of people in the chat. So yeah, when will we next be live? We've not got a broadcast avalanche on Monday because I'm away. So our next stream will be, I believe, on the 19th of June, and that will be the stream version of our June live show, headlined by Jack Gledo with Umby Winters guest hosting, and a bunch of other brilliant acts as well. So do give us a follow if you're not already following. Give us you can give us money as well if you want. That little subtle just rolling text remind you all the ways you can give us money. If you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you. I think everyone in the chat is already a patron, so thank you very much for that. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye bye. I need to fight. There we are. Oh, wrong one. Slick.